the third.
Yeah, the listers, facing the listers, it's
We're down here by
Dale Road.
Dale Road. They're talking about they might want to close that section of road for a bit. Maybe overnight, because they gotta cross the road and our stuff says they've gotta have concrete over it. So let the concrete harden. Figured,
Close the section of Route 100 you're talking
no,
No, you're-
Dale
Mm,
Road.
Dale
Oh.
Road.
Oh, okay.
They got a cross right there on Dale Road.
Yeah, oh, right.
So there was some talk about that, but if somebody's really opposed to it, I can tell them they can't.
No, it's
Well,
just
I mean, they're
a
supposed to get a hold of
They have to
Keene
go-
and let Keene Mutual Aid know that the road's gonna be closed for a period of time, so that if the fire department gets called out. And I told them that they were gonna close the road to try to put up a notice there, give people as much notice as they could. To be honest with you, it'll probably be a day. I mean, I don't think they're probably gonna put up something a week in advance, so there could be a little inconvenience there, but I mean, can always get around it.
Oh, it's easy to get around, yeah.
They've gotta cross, they gotta go across there. So that's one of the things. The small truck's still over at Reed's, I haven't heard. Well, I think they told you, Shauna, that they called back and said that they couldn't hear they couldn't find the noise after they called and said they couldn't find the noise, and Shauna was at the office, and then they said they could find the noise, and then, so I said, okay, and then they come back and said, well, we can't find the noise, so it's like, do I need to drive back over to Claremont, to Newport, to drive the thing so they can hear the noise? It's quite an inconvenience. I mean, one of us has got to drive our personal truck over there, follow over and take it over, then come back, and now we're talking about maybe having to go back over there to. So that's that. We're starting to do some ditching. Of course, we haven't been able to do much grading just because of the weather, but we started back up grading again and doing some ditching. If there's anything else you guys have major.
can you bring the walk behind down so if you want?
Yeah, we got it running, sharpened the blades this morning, so that, should be good to go. Oh, I know, I had a question, when you guys did the generator stuff, did you do a contract for a service on that, or you just left that one out?
Correct.
So we're gonna do it, okay, I just didn't wanna do it if somebody was coming to do it. So we'll do the service on that, this spring.
We have, grant update, GIA structure paving on the next list here.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question so you've taken the truck to a place in Newport?
Yeah, it's an international dealership. There's
Oh.
there's one in Claremont, and there's one in Troy. So it's like pick your point,
Okay,
which
but you
one's-
can't take it to a regular mechanic, it's gotta be.
No,
It's
well, it
under
should be
warranty.
under warranty too, like, we think the front end is gone,
Oh, gotcha.
like, if you turn the hubs in like you're gonna put it in 4-wheel drive, you have to drive it a little bit, and I've explained this to them, but if we leave the town garage, it won't be making any noise, and by the time you get halfway to Londonderry, you'll swear the gears are falling out of the front end, and so I've
gotcha.
explained to them, like, you can't just drive it around in a parking lot, it's not gonna make the noise. We explained it to them when it got dropped off over there.
Yeah.
And then they call and said, the service manager called and says, we can't hear we don't know about the noise, and Shauna happened to be sitting there, and I said, well, it makes a really bad noise when you do this, and he said, let me go talk to the mechanic, then he comes back and says, oh yeah, you did hear it, don't worry about it, and then he calls this week and says, oh, we didn't hear it, there's a recall, and we're just gonna fix the recall and send it back, or, have you come get it, and I said, no, somebody will come over there and drive it if we have to, but it's pretty inconvenient.
Yeah.
But there's no close one.
Yeah.
What's closer, Troy or Claremont? It's just beyond Home Depot, so it's like, for us, it's probably shorter to go to Claremont.
Yeah, of course.
50 to 1/2 dozen the other.
Right. If there was great service in one spot or the other, you'd pick that spot for sure.
Got it, okay, thank you.
And the grants, I met with Lisa Donnelly, and we kind of picked a spot to do. I don't know if Jim is on.
He's not here tonight.
So it's a little bit, things I guess are changing in that water quality, what we need to do, and I think Shauna can testify that I kind of sat down and went over what I thought were projects, based on a map of our roads that were redlined, and so then we're trying to fix some stuff, and she's like, oh, that actually would pass in today's world, and so we struggled to kind of find something, because then I'm like, well, there's a piece over here that's red line, what about that? And then she's like, well, it's not a high traffic area, so now we're starting to not be concerned about high traffic. So the map she provided me, she said, really, you can't go by this because it's going to change when we get an update. So we did pick an area. I kind of had to drive her around town and finally picked an area down on Boynton Road that she thought, or Old Tavern Hill and Boynton Road, that she said would pass for the grant and we could do some work there. But the reason I asked about Jim was because the guy down in the triangle there, Knowles, is always just got to complain about something. So then he doesn't come to me anymore. He tries to go to Jim, and if we're gonna do that site, if we're gonna do that area, we probably, somebody should speak with him.
We also thought that we would have had a meeting with Megan Brunk, but she had a family emergency. She is from the state, and she was gonna help us, with a grant that Weston hasn't gotten in a long
We were
time.
gonna have that meeting today, but then she had a family thing, so we didn't.
So I thought we would have a lot more information for you today, but we don't.
I think I was gonna, if it's what I think it is, I think that we're getting around 200,000. Denny, I think you think we're maybe getting another one, but I think if we're gonna use it towards tarring, we do the one that I believe qualifies as Chester Mountain, the bottom of Chester Mountain. And if they're talking about, so the two that I think qualify are Chester Mountain and the Lawrence Hill Road up to Langro. But if they're talking about working out here on this bridge and this, that, and the other thing, I would think we wait on that to go over there. So I wanted to get there's a couple of roads on the map that I wanted to ask her about, because like some of Piper Hill Road, the state map shows it as being a class 2. Holman says it is in a class 2, but the state map shows that it is. So when I had her out here, I wanted to, a little bit of Boynton Road, it shows on the map as being class 2, but Holman says it's not. So I need to get some clarification from her on it. One thing I did learn from her meeting this week was kind of overspec the area that you want the grant for, and then just keep track of your time and your material. And I'm just going to use rough numbers, but if you said we were going to do a half a mile of ditching and rock lining and this and that, and at a quarter of a mile you hit that number, you don't have to do the half mile. You do so make sure you put enough in the grant so that you can spend what money you've got, but don't cut yourself short. But on the other token, so it's around 22,000 that we have to spend with our match. So once we hit that 22,000, even if we had only done a quarter of a mile, we said we were going to do a half a mile, that qualifies. So
We don't have to put in another 45,000 to.
right.
to
So
finish.
and like last year, I was under the impression that we picked a
Finish the
spot
project.
and it was X amount of feet from here to there, and so with some clarification today, or not today, last week, she says, no, just keep track of your material and your time, and when you hit that amount, you can stop there. So always figured a little bit heavy and err on that side of caution on
That
that.
makes sense, yeah.
I know Nick had said some stuff to me, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about that tonight, like go into an executive session or just talk, I can talk with you, Denny, and you can float it around and see. I mean, it's not an emergency by any means. It's not that he's unhappy or anything, so. It's up to you folks.
We got 17 items here, why don't you run it by me, and then I'll bring it up at the next meeting or talk to people.
And other than that, as soon as we get the small truck back, we're probably gonna send Huey's truck down. It's got an oil leak somewhere. And we can't find, I mean, we know that it's coming from somewhere up high on the motor, and you can't even see in there. There's so much stuff in there, and Norm, we can track a lot of them, but that one, I don't know where it's coming from. So I think we're probably best to just take it down to, and it's not a major leak, but it's becoming more and more all the time. So, but other than that, I mean, stuff's holding together. I mean, everybody seems to be getting along, and we're getting through some stuff.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank
I'm
you.
out of here.
Coming in.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
17 items, you know,
17.
by
You're
midnight, you
number
should.
one.
Yeah. See you in the morning.
Have a good one.
Changes to the agenda, number 3. Number 4, public comment.
I have something to say, please.
Ken Hall has something.
Yes, Ken.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Ken.
Thank you. I know you've got a full agenda, so I'll make this quick. I'm not the only person in town who's pleased that the select board is finally reviewing and procedures for executive session. I'd like to see some follow through, but it should not have taken a formal complaint in a special meeting to get where we got. When someone addresses something to the select board, it's intended for the select board. It doesn't matter who that person is or what you think of them, what you think of yourself. An individual select board member has no more right or authority to take action on behalf of the town than any other resident. What Jim Linville did with my email I sent in March was dishonest, unethical, abusive, and insulting. He decided on his own to deliberately misrepresent what I wrote. He decided what the select board's response should be. He decided who would draft that response, and he decided the select board needed no motion, discussion, or vote to do so. With the response he drafted, he signed every one of you at that table onto his lie. This was not the first time he's pulled a stunt like this. He's done it to me twice. His habit of trying to take care of things himself causes unnecessary drama, anger, and frustration. And I don't know what that meeting cost the other night, but it cost the town money too. People get frustrated and they just give up. Some people feel intimidated. Approaching the select board should not be an exercise of control. Jim Linville is not the select board. Dismissing the concerns of residents and diminishing the voices and opinions of other select board members is offensive. The most polite words I can find for him are knock it off. I know the minutes are going to show that I expressed concerns, but you've heard what I said. That's all I got.
Okay, we will take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna switch 6 and 5 around because we got the listers here and they don't want to sit and listen to us on a minute. All right, listers update.
That's nice of you, Jim.
Well, you can stay afterwards if you want.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what we wanted.
I mean, we can get some more stuff.
Get some taken. Sure. I signed it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. What am I missing?
There's nothing. You never see anything.
Okay.
There's no paper on this.
Great.
I hear you.
Well, I don't know where to start, fellas. But I guess I started asking questions.
Yeah.
I'll express my concern.
Come on.
This is the way I understand things.
Okay.
That the grand list has to be filed with the state around the 1st of July, so they can set the state tax rate.
So we're actually gonna be filing the abstract on June 4th. And that will start your formal grievance period. And then basically as quickly as you get through your formal grievance period, you can file your formal grand list. The state can start setting education rates.
So we do anticipate beginning of July, the first week, whatever date that would fall on. Well, this is my concern, fellas. I think there's gonna be one hell of a grievance trial thing. And this happened to the town once before. I'm probably the only one here that remembers it. But when enough people went to the state, they reduced enough things, the town ended up sending out a second tax bill. Now, I've been asking questions and, I'm just asking questions because that's part of my job.
Yeah, of course.
And so Shauna went to BLC day and, there's a misconception in town. And people are broadcasting it. That I'll use $100,000 for easy figuring. Town tax rate last year's 60 cents. She paid $600 taxes. The state rate was $1.69. He paid $16.90. So if the house goes to 200,000, the town should theoretically drop to 30 cents. But the state tax rate, according to what we got here, doesn't fall below $1.10. And so there's a lot of people in town who don't have the budgets set up to pay this kind of an increase this year. So we're looking at a couple of different things here, as far as I'm concerned, is we're looking at the inability of certain residents who don't have, they're on a tight budget, retirees and, young working people. And then we're looking at the possibility, if enough of them go the full length to the state of being a reduction coming back and getting a lower townwide assessment. And so I was wondering if we should go with last year's till we get this all straightened out.
Well, so that would be I don't think that would be in the best interest of the town. So your grand list increased by 66%. So overall, your municipal rate is going to be slashed regardless. The educational rate also, I think one thing that's not in your calculation is that the CLA, the common level of appraisal, is going to go back to 100% in the year that you do a reappraisal. Right now, it's what, like in the 60s?
According to my tax bill last year,
Yeah, what was the CLA?
was 78,
Yeah, that's right.
78%. So we were
Yep.
22%. So $100,000 house should have sold for 122,000.
Not sure.
According to the state figures.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not arguing your
That's-
figures. I'm telling you what's on my tax bill.
Yep. So they're gonna get a 22% swing on the ed rate going back, because you're going from 78% back to 100. So the state was increasing Weston's educational rate last year by 22% townwide. And that's
Supposedly to
gonna
bring
go-
everybody up to 100%.
Sure. Yep. And that's the what's called the equalized grand list based on
Right.
the CLA. That statistic is difficult to really to say it quantifies exactly the change in values you're to expect. Data can be changed. The state throws away a lot of sales, like for sales or for example, like subdivisions or any portion of a property that sells. The state's going to disqualify that sale and not use it in their CLA calculation. So, our results were starkly different from the CLA. Obviously, there's much higher increase than 22% across the board. So it's something though based purely in the sales that we had to use and recollecting all the data throughout town, systematically. So I don't think that you got to worry. So as of right now, we got 4 days in. We have about less than 30 informational hearings at this point. So typically the first 4 or 5 days of these letters hitting is when you get the majority of your hearings scheduled. But, who knows, that people that might be, kind of late to the phone on it, but, we have 128 slots available for the informational, stage. We are gonna work with folks and get through them, so there's gonna be changes that occur at those, so that, so that less folks go forward towards the formal grievance process with the listers. So, I haven't had any towns in the last 3 years that weren't able to get tax bills out on time, or had so many outstanding appeals that when they were all resolved, the state had to recalculate, the true up had to recalculate the rate, dramatically. So.
I do know it happened here once, and that's one of the reasons I'm asking so many questions.
Sure. Yeah.
And it doesn't set well with the taxpayers, and it costs a lot of money to send the tax bills out.
Oh, yep. So obviously we'll do everything as our goal is, so that doesn't happen.
Remind me when the tax bills go out.
Well, that's one of the things, they usually go out in July, but now we're looking at middle of July, maybe 1st of August, I think.
Potentially. So again, there's really at this point,
Yeah,
not a lot of data to really, grasp that. I mean, like I said, we have under less than 30, scheduled on the books, 5 days after the letters hit mailboxes. So, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that bodes fairly well. I expect to triple that.
And the other thing I noted is in previous assessments, you listed a person's house and how many acres. So that, it says when the guy goes to the listers to use comparables.
Yeah.
Well, how are they gonna do comparables if they don't know how many acres the guy's got?
So there's acreage on everything. So it's that notice that you got was just your change of value notice.
Yeah,
But
well,
there's
that's what you're gonna base your appeal from.
Well, so we have a database online that's linked to the town
I'm not
website.
online, I'm computer
We-
reporting.
Okay, so I can generate any card with any amount of acreage or data that you would like.
Well, that's what I said when he was in today. I said, I can print, if you haven't had, I can print any town, any piece of property in town you want.
Yep. And there's a PDF of basically a by owner summary of everybody's changes. And I do not believe that there's acreage on there. I think it's just, the parcel ID and
Yeah, I looked at it too.
current previous value, but I can generate any data you'd like. I can generate your report tonight with everybody's acreage if you'd like. We can try to put that on the website.
Well, the thing is like I know of one house. Oh, the guy's got this 2-story deck home. There's a bathroom downstairs, bedroom, living room, rec room, whatever, with a wood stove. There's 2 bedrooms down there. In the utility room. Then you go upstairs, there's master bedroom with bath, living room, dining room, and fireplace and stuff. And I'm pretty sure he's got more acreage than I did. I'll have to find his map because I logged on it. But he's in there for less than I am.
Okay. So again, without looking at either, I don't know your property from the one you're speaking of, and
Right.
I don't have any data in front of me to really look at that. And if you schedule an informational hearing, I'd be more than happy to.
Oh, I've scheduled
Go over
for
it.
5.
You know, one thing though, Dennis, is that they didn't go into the houses unless they were invited or allowed. So.
Yeah, but your cards should have listed all.
That's
of
from
them.
information from them.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's information from either when it was first built or what they've given us. But we don't go into the house unless we're allowed,
Right.
Right? So if the guy's got 17 bedrooms and a swimming pool in the basement and it's never been revealed, we don't know that. And yet, it's got his house a hell of a lot more.
So we
We have to know that.
had a 67% entry rate. So out of all the improved parcels in town, we did inspections on 67%, which is really good. Anything above 50 is you're getting great community feedback, great community cooperation. So I will say that when I set final values and I'm looking at the exterior of a home, and it's an exterior of a home that we didn't get into, depending on what the exterior looks like and where I am, like using common sense, maybe pushing the value a little bit if it looks kind of nice and we're unsure, and then in hopes that we can deal with it in grievance and review and get correct information. But if the property and the home are not looking very nice from the outside, I'm not going to make the assumption that it is very nice on the inside and value it, right? So, and I've run it in my 12-year career of doing this. I can probably count on two hands where I've been completely duped by, what's called assessor camouflage, where the outside of the house has holes in the roof, siding's falling off, holes in the windows, and you walk inside and they got a $60,000 kitchen. Like, yeah, that's like I said, I can count on probably two hands and I know where they are. So, the consistency of listing is really important. So notes, any good notes that we could bring over, and then we go out and collect all of our data. So when it's going to be a lot different than their old software, the old tools that you used, we have a lot more direct units of comparison. So we can be a lot more precise with valuing the structure. We can value a basement area a number of different ways, from completely unfinished to just a finished rec room that's 100% below grade, to a finished area that's a full walkout, but only one rear walkout wall, to a basement area that 3/4 of the foundation is above grade and a full walkout. Now you're almost at the same level as this first floor. So just as an example, we can really create strong equity in doing that, because that's what works into properties when they sell. That's what makes them marketable. So same thing we can value created kitchens independently from the house as a whole. So so there's just a lot more detail in the data.
What about people that have land that border the river? How do you interpret the laws that the state of Vermont has restricting what you can do along the riverbank?
So it's excess acreage. So excess acreage is not valued in any way as if it's developable at all until you tell me it is by submitting a survey, creating lot lines and permits. So we value excess acreage that's along the riverbank the same as any other. It's for enjoyment. It's for your peace and enjoyment. You own it. We're not valuing it as if you were going to start plopping cabins along the riverbank at all. So if your house, though, is in the flood hazard, that gets a little bit trickier, because unfortunately, and you have a sale, and the property was marketed this way, there's a home in Weston that in 23 was almost swept away by the river, and it just sold and was marketed as pristine riverfront. So I have to follow reality. I don't create reality. I follow the sales that have occurred. So when I look at a property that I know I drove by firsthand and saw it hanging on for life, and then someone comes and buys it mid-4s, 460K, well, did the floodplain really affect that sale of that house? Was that home marketed legally? Good question. I don't know. But so that's the whole issue, right? Is that you're talking to the tax assessor, everything's much less valuable, right? The whole tone of the conversation. You go to sell it, the conversation's much different. That's the conversation that our data follows, because that generates sales. So there are a few sales, and I'll say this too, in no way, and I'll say this very openly, I value, when I go through do final review and I value entire communities, I value them at the lowest possible assessment so that it qualifies for the state 3-prong test and it satisfies our sales statistically. We're within good statistical compliance through IAAO standard and state standard. I do not push any higher. And if anything, what you'll likely see, or my prediction, is that within the next 6 months, any sales that occur will likely occur above current assessment. because we have to use 3 years of sales. So our sales go back to 2022. Since the second quarter of 2021, Vermont statewide has seen 1% appreciation per month since second half of 21. So we got to use the 22 sales where there wasn't as much appreciation, the 23 and 24. We have to use all of them and not just the last 16 months of sales, which would have reflected purely the peak of the real estate market. So it's feathered in. We still have to consider those 2022 sales. So that pulls statistically, that pulls all the values from the sale that happened yesterday. That's going to pull all the values down. So, I'm very conscious of this. So, the other thing, and to your comment of taxes, which, no, I'll say this, no one knows better than myself, is that I value property. I say if you were to hypothetically sell your property as of April 1st, 2025, this is a fair market value you should expect to receive for your property. I don't make policy, I don't make budgets. So a lot of the part of our conversation, but I can point you to the state legislature and maybe say, hey, maybe you should find out who your local reps are.
We know, but it falls on deaf ears.
Well, yeah, you see, then and I would say therein lies the problem, is that mentality that it falls on deaf ears, because it truly isn't. If you follow the vote from last year and look what's going to keep happening, hopefully in the state house, but neither here nor there, because my whole job and my whole conversation is fair market value property of every property in Weston. So I could say you're going to get relief from the rates. The overall average percent of change right now is 66%, 67%. That is the first indicator. It's a rough indicator of what your change in taxes will be. If your value went up 30% and the average was 66, you're voting well. But that also means you've been overpaying for a long time, right? If your value only went up 30% and everybody else was going up 66, you've been overpaying for a long time. Now, if your value went up 100% and the average is 66, you're likely to see an increase in your taxes. It's not going to be double because the rates are going to be adjusted, but that's also an indication that you've been underpaying for a number of years. So that's what we do when we do a reappraisal. We equalize the grand list, and that's what that means, is that we bring everybody back to true value where they're supposed to be, regardless of where you started. I in no way look at someone's previous assessment to gauge their new assessment. I don't even, aside from statistically, because we have to follow with looking at statistics, they don't mean anything to me because I didn't set them. I don't know how they were derived. I don't know why they're set. Some could be set through grievance, some could be set through BCA decision. So it's not in no way an earmark for what your new value should be.
Okay, well, this is on Zoom and hopefully a lot of people are watching and listening in.
Sure, I hope so. Yeah.
May save some time, may not, who knows?
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Way to find us.
Upstairs,
Mhm.
upstairs.
Well, not now. During the day.
All right, we'll go to the minutes of town meeting. This is minutes of the town meeting. Probably we should wait till Jim is here to do them.
So we're tabling that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and let's see, we've got the minutes of the special select board meeting, right?
The 20, oh, sure.
May 6th.
May 6th,
May
yeah.
6th meeting, yep.
Katie, can't shut the door.
Oh, okay.
Open meeting law, can't shut the door.
Thank you. Thank you.
An executive session again.
Thank you very
So
much, Jenny.
Special meet,
I move we accept the minutes of the special meeting, May 6th, 2025.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I guess we should send a thank you note to Peter and Sabrina.
to you.
Thank you.
Didn't we have some other minutes we had to approve?
Yes, we had
May 6th.
last
And
week's.
then, there's the crib sheet for executive session
Yep.
that you just need to, I think, look over and see if you like it, and then I will laminate her somewhere in this building.
Fantastic.
And you gave us this last week or in our special meeting
Yes.
too. So, we don't need a motion for this. We just say, yes. Sure.
We reviewed it.
Yep. Looks good to me.
Yep.
And April 22nd. Just because that was the last meeting, so those minutes need to be approved.
The Linda, Katie and I, because
They're just not here.
So, I had a couple things here. Under number 3, did we have the dates for those meetings? Jim Linville moved to approve the meeting minutes for the town plan public meeting on such and such a date. Do we need dates here?
I can have them.
I think that would be helpful if that's okay. And then there's just a typo on the 3rd bullet point. Edits were made. But it's so good otherwise.
I will fix those and have them ready to sign next meeting. And then, for Meryl's recommendations, I only took that February 25th needed to be amended in the notes. I
Wasn't sure either. I was going back and reading the notes. and-
Me too, I interpreted that the motions that we made for the other 2 meetings were sufficient. I don't know if
That
everyone,
was my interpretation too, but
I
I don't know
can
if we need
ask
to
her
check
as
with her. Yeah.
but
Well, the wording is different. One says, in her notes, the wording is different for it, right?
Yes.
It says, amend versus,
Not accept, but it was another word.
yeah, what was the other word she used?
I just read it for the same reason. I just went through and read it. I don't have it with me. That's now back at home. Oh, wait, we have it right here, right? Oh, no, maybe we
No,
wouldn't.
do you have Meryl's,
Meryl's
yeah.
part.
I have, wait, you're talking about the crib sheet?
no,
No.
her,
I can read it again, but
we just,
Yeah,
Oh,
did you give
her,
it to me? And
I printed the wrong way, but if
Oh.
that helps you at all.
Oh, right, it was printed the wrong way.
Printed landscape, because I can't get it printed.
Yeah, what happened to that?
the chair.
That's the one. Good, thank you. All right, good. Okay, so it says, for the February 11th meeting, move to ratify the
yes,
decision,
that's it, right.
which we did. For the February 25th meeting, move to amend. And for the March 11th meeting, move to ratify. So I'm assuming she's careful with her language. She's a lawyer, so this is the only one we needed to.
I was gonna say
That's
that
what I
too.
thought.
I would agree with that.
And then I've never amended a note, so I put it in the notes like I normally would have.
Mhm.
And then I did, on the last page, put an amended.
Okay,
what I
excellent.
amended.
That's great. I didn't even flip that and see that.
And I think we do, this is another one of those weird notes. I do think we need a motion just to approve this because Howie and
Minutes.
Lisa are no longer select board members like we did the first time around for this one.
To approve the minutes as amended.
Yes.
Can I ask something about the amendment the amendment note that you made? Jim Linville moved to enter executive session to discuss personnel under one VSA, blah, 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 blah. Do we need to be more explicit there to discuss, the employment or appointment of a public office or to a public office or employee? As opposed to just saying personnel?
Personnel, yeah.
The wording of wherever the crib sheet is, the wording of that crib sheet, which is number 9 on the crib sheet, thank you, can I
I
just?
guess I didn't, only because there was a motion to hire Ahmed
After,
after.
yeah.
Uh,
Appointment or evaluation of a public officer or employee.
But I can ask. I have to specifically say. I'll double check.
I think,
Yeah,
Why not?
we've been called to task. I think we need to be sure we're as careful as possible, if that's okay. Thanks,
Yeah.
Shauna, sorry.
no, that's totally.
So we'll table
Table
this
that.
until the next
Yes,
meeting, yeah?
yeah. Right, so I think that's all the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we bypass solicitors and so now we go to, thank you for Peter Harrison.
Yeah, I don't know how you usually, this was my agenda item. I don't know how you usually do this, but Peter Harrison gathered a whole bunch of people for Green Up Day in Vermont and got them to clean up roads and stuff. Just think it'd be nice to send him I don't know, do you send a letter of thank you or
I
something?
can, yeah.
Cause I think, he spent some time doing that and it'd be nice to thank him and the volunteers.
Let's see, Jonna says something about water quality moving volunteer.
I'd like to volunteer.
Great.
Thank you, Katie.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Would just reach out to her
Sure.
and see what she needs.
Okay,
Melissa.
great.
That would be awesome.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Of course.
Take your dogs down.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna be sampling, but I figured on a Wednesday morning, it'll get me out of the house.
I think it's above the mill dam and below the mill dam.
Right.
So there you go.
So come over for coffee. I'm across the
I'll
street.
see you there.
Okay.
All right, Vermont Council on Rural Development Leadership Summit.
They would like us to send them a local leader. I don't know if we have any,
Have we done that before? Has there ever been
not to my
anybody?
knowledge, but my knowledge is very limited.
Like I told Shauna, once you look at all the programs going on out there, there's a lot of duplication of efforts. And I don't know if you can cover all the bases, but if somebody would like to go to it, fine by me, but it's up to the individuals.
I'm interested.
All right, good.
I will send Nick.
Let's hope the meetings aren't on Wednesday because you'll be out there sampling water.
Yeah, right, and like, I'll be busy.
That's great. Good.
E&D update.
Oh, sorry. So I am super, super close. I have one question to ask, the place on Magic, which the name is escaping me right now, and I am so sorry. I think it is the Red Sled Lodge or something to do with that. Who's going to be our a shelter if we need.
Oh,
And then I can upload it to the state and we will be in compliance as soon as I have an occupancy number from him.
So that's the LEMP you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is very exciting news for me.
yeah.
I don't know if you have any other questions that I can try to help you with. I didn't print it out because it is 12 pages and we looked at it last meeting and nothing really has changed. I did just have a meeting with a woman, Tyga from the state, who went through it with me and said everything looks great. And she just had a couple questions and I will find out those answers. Which is, you know, how many people this shelter can hold, and then hopefully it's done.
Good, great.
How often is this yearly or is
Yes.
this, it is yearly? Okay, thanks.
But once we have it in place,
Yeah,
it's easy. It just hasn't been done in so long that
yeah, you had to update it kind of
we
scratch.
had to update it from
Yeah.
scratch, because I think Denny and Jim are the only members that were here.
It's unusual to have two members on the board at once.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
for sure. Did we skip number 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I
That's
was
okay.
looking for my-
We did
So this is the
state receiving.
tomorrow, I'm sorry,
No, it's
this
on
is Thursday,
Thursday.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody about that meeting on Thursday. It is at the Walker Farm. I do think would be nice to have somebody attend.
I'm planning on going.
yeah, me
That
too.
would be awesome. It is my son's birthday, so I will not be attending, but.
You could bring it
Happy
to be a party.
birthday.
I'm
We can all
not-
have cake and bring cake for everybody.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't
50 of your
want
closest
any
friends.
cake that I have baked.
So do you know how this was advertised?
I do not.
Yeah, I was wondering the same.
Does anyone know
I
about
had
it?
an email,
That was
like
my
a very
question.
plain Jane email, the same one that I sent to you guys. As far as like public, I don't know how they advertised it.
Well, put it on town website.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's a little late at this
Yeah, I mean,
point,
it's
but
2 days
Yeah,
from
it
now.
is a little late, but somebody,
yeah, somebody might see it. I just don't know who was responsible for advertising it.
like I just said, there's so many of these things.
And then, you know, so I'm pretty sure after reading through all this, because this has nothing to do with the dam and the bridge.
No.
No,
Money,
this
this
is
is
just-
completely different. This is an additional 68
This is a.
million
additional-
separate that
Yeah.
But
we can apply for parts of it. Is that what it
Well,
is?
no, they're just hearing, they're hearing like grievances basically of how the flood has affected housing and people like within the 2023 flood.
I thought that this was I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead first. And,
Okay, yeah,
I gotta think how I'm gonna present this.
okay. I thought that this was also, yes, what you said, but also a potential alternative to the FEMA money for the bridge and the dam, should we not be approved for that.
I didn't look at it that. I thought
didn't
this was for
know that
other,
either.
I thought this was like,
I thought this was just towards like housing development and infrastructure.
Well,
For, like,
I think it's
infrastructure.
for
Right,
what-
right, which is the
for
dam.
what people of the town feel is really needed, right?
Yeah.
That hasn't, items that have yet to be addressed, right?
I
Is
think
that-
there may be a push for the playhouse in this.
Yes.
That's it, thank you.
Okay.
Playhouse,
I
yeah.
had
Yeah.
that listed here too.
Okay.
Because there was actually something written there in one of the documents right there. And I think there was a discussion that she said for mitigation, there may be an opportunity to get money towards
Yeah,
plans for the
for
mitigation, not for the overall reconstruction of it.
Right.
Right, so the Playhouse is in the FEMA application, where the Playhouse has its own FEMA application, but
Playhouse is
this
own.
would be also, this could also be in addition or in place of that grant if the
Okay.
Playhouse doesn't get it.
Interesting.
But
I
obviously it couldn't-
misspoke when I said the dam and the bridge, it's the Playhouse.
Okay.
You're right.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, what I was gonna say, I'm not trying to rain on anything. But you should make up your own list of how much land is really available in town for housing, business expansion, because there's like, I'm gonna use real round figures, there's 23,000 acres in town. I believe the federal government owns 8,000, the state owns 1,000, Prairie owns 500. There's a ton of it conserved on wherever that map is. that Sam Lloyd did, it's right up there.
Right.
It's conserved land, not buildable. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is you're gonna have to make your own decision of how much time and energy you wanna spend on some of these projects that are coming down the line, because as you already see it, there's a lot of projects. And so I think you're gonna have to pick and choose what you wanna spend your energy on.
Okay.
But this is about disaster recovery, it's not about new development.
Right, that's how I'm reading it as
that's-
well.
That's one there's 2 or 3 different outfits doing disaster recovery.
Yeah, of course, right.
And so, you know, lots of times this hand doesn't know what this one's doing, and the one in the middle won't care what either one
Mhm.
is doing. I'm just saying, look at things openly and check them out.
Got it. Yep, good advice.
All right, number 12, landowner to,
So I did get an email back from one of the landowners, or whoever represents them.
There are questions, yeah.
With some questions. I only responded with that the select board's meeting tonight, and I will get back to you, because I don't know. If you wanna take a look, who's paying for the cleanup, I would assume it's gonna be the town.
Yeah, we were not asking him for money.
no, we weren't.
Is there an expectation that they should pay?
No,
no.
What's prompted the cleanup? We
Well,
stated flood resiliency in the in the little letter.
And also recovery of the
Gravel,
of the
not gravel.
gravel, yeah,
The
right,
gravel.
recovery of the
Gravel.
gravel material.
clean wood and debris out of the brook, so it won't block the river next time there's a high water.
Flood resiliency, and then so should I just say, the town would benefit from resources coming out of cause we just don't we have to do things to it, right? Like we have to.
We have to get permit from the state to take the gravel out of the brook and take the debris out of the brook. We will do, the town of Weston is responsible for that.
So that could be answered as to all the details on the scope, like this would be step 1 and step 2, right? Was
Yeah.
going to the state and.
Step 2.
Well, and scope isn't scope asking like, how much of the river are we cleaning out?
Like, what are the
Yeah.
parameters? Like, what is the actual, like, where does it start? When does it end?
Yeah, and how much
I
of
would
their
say that would be
Just
the
going-
excess gravel in the riverbed.
My impression of this was a small area, right? This is a small
Yeah,
area
it's
we're
whatever
talking
width he
about.
owns, like 200-300 feet of riverbed. It's not a large, not a quarter mile or half mile or anything like that.
Right, so how many,
We reached out to 3 landowners.
thank you, that was my question, 3 landowners, and so this particular one would be his entire river frontage would be
If
affected.
I'm correct, he's a middle person.
Okay, would we want to get back to him about, where our machines are gonna enter the enter the river and what damage there might be to his, I would imagine that would be a question, what damage might there be to his property and what condition would we leave it in?
I mean, I would just say right now, because we don't super know if, one, we don't have the permit, two, we don't even, I don't think that we have the scope yet.
We don't have a plan, really.
I would say to him that once we get the permits and develop a scope of work, we will send him a copy for his approval.
For his approval, right, good.
Yeah, that's
So
great,
we're not asking for approval right now, we're just,
Right.
give us approval
And what
to go
happens-
ahead with our plans.
Right.
This is just for me, so, I mean, I sent this, I would say it's minimum been 2 weeks, you know what I mean, like. He's the only one who's responded, so this is just dead in the water if I don't hear from,
No,
oh, okay.
no. Because I think, but I think one of the others is giving Jeff verbal. So I'll have to talk to Jeff.
Okay. So I
Okay, but
will-
there's still a third who
There's still a
has,
third.
so should we send them a reminder letter? Or send them the letter again?
The first one's tied up in the state.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
so does that mean that we can't move forward if we don't get,
No, we can move forward.
okay,
We can move forward. We don't have to get it all.
We just wouldn't use their,
We would use,
We wouldn't
Property,
clean
their
up by
property.
their property.
Right.
okay,
okay,
so I will get something together for everyone to look at.
Thank you.
thank you.
progress, yeah.
Next one, I think you might want to take, I think the bed down reason.
Oh, I started it already,
Oh, so did I.
it did give me a nap, so it looks like, based on this, there's one significant deficiency. 10 recommendations,
So,
I
I'm not entirely sure so we read through this and do what?
So really, you're just accepting it, unless you see something glaring, which I'm not terribly knowledgeable about reading through an audit myself. I asked Greg Carroll if he would review it, because that's part of his background, reviewing audits at banks. And he read through it and he said it looks pretty standard, he didn't see anything glaring. And I also asked him to review the journal entries on a quarterly basis, because that is our one significant deficiency that they've been telling us about over
we
and over
mentioned
and
this
over.
before,
Right, and it just isn't getting any better, and now it's significant, which is not a good thing at all. And it can lead to other deficiencies or workarounds and issues within our accounting systems and whatever. So Greg agreed to do that on a quarterly basis, so I told our auditor about that, and he was quite pleased that I'd come up with a solution to that ongoing issue. Greg felt the audit looked fine, he didn't have any questions on it, and just asked to sign a client representation letter, which I believe we were given copies of as part of the whole package. And it just tells them, and I acknowledge what I did.
So our action is to accept this audit report?
Correct, you're welcome to continue reading it if you want to table it and not accept it until the next time, that's certainly your prerogative.
and then the other recommendations that are on here, Kim,
Correct, yes.
are those things that,
So some of them are things that they've asked me to do before. They really want us to put in place or update our policies and procedures.
right, there seems to be more than one of them, like a number of them.
Yeah, there's quite a few. So that is something that Shauna and I had talked about, putting before you a couple of policies every couple months or so that we could try to at least nibble away.
Mhm.
Showing that we have a good faith effort that we're actually gonna do something would be fabulous. The one thing that they did, that Shauna and I picked up, and I'll bring it to you the next time, is the fraud policy. It's pretty simple, it's a page and a half, it's kind of boilerplate that we agreed to, blah, blah, blah. So I will email that to you. You all can look at that. He wanted that one in credit place soon. The other thing was me writing procedure manuals, which I totally get why they want that done. They want the procurement policy updated because that hasn't been done in quite some time, as well as another list of two. One thing that he brought up, and I think we talked about it last time, was budgeting for vacation and sick pay.
Yeah.
We put salaries and then we put additional for vacation and sick pays, and he said that's really a bit of double budgeting.
Right.
I understand why we do it. I said I'd bring it up to you. I know that we're probably not gonna change our process, but that's entirely up to you. He's just noting it as we recommend.
Yeah, so
All right, that one was not a crisis. They want us to look at an investment policy. Don't know how you want to handle that. I'm not an investment person.
That one there, Ron Crowley and Christian, who's the other one that handles?
Andy Platt.
Should refer to them and ask him to draw the policy.
Okay, all right. And then the last one, which I was quite surprised, he's related to the Wilder Memorial Library Fund. And it's our understanding that the Wilder Memorial Library Fund should be included in the financial statements of the town, which they currently are not. They recommend that we look into that. I don't know that that means we have to handle the fund, or if we just need to include it in our financial statement.
What is the Wilder Memorial Library Fund?
Well, I'm thinking it's whatever is going on with the daily operations. Because the only funds we have is the capital fund,
Yeah,
which is included in our special funds. And we don't have any other fund as a town.
right.
His point, and I'd actually ask somebody to maybe review it with him, is that the town owns the building and the town should include whatever's going on at the library as part of our financial statement. And I'd be happy to give you his phone number if you like. I wasn't looking for more trouble, actually. But he had his reasons for bringing this up. However, the library does have its own employment identification number. It does its own thing. So other than owning the building, the town doesn't have that much say or oversight in it.
I mean, I'm sorry, and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but we don't do that for the little school, do we?
Not at all. The
Right.
little school is a completely different entity.
Because it's.
And his point was that the trustees of the library are elected by the voters, and that gives the voters some oversight in that. I really, anyway, I told him I'd tell you.
So is there, so it might be necessary to go back to the founding of the library to determine what authority the town gave to the board of the library.
Is there a charter or rules and regs? So that would be interesting and helpful. I'd be happy to get on the phone with you and the auditor.
Yeah, let's include Debbie in that too,
Sure.
because she's a lawyer.
Right.
Okay, let me, I will tell Debbie about this and then let's get
Yeah.
on the phone with her about that. Because I really am not sure what the Wilder Memorial Library Fund is, other than the capital fund that the town
Right.
has. There's no other fund. I mean, the library has its own funds.
Right. But his point was because of how the board is elected.
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
voters.
Okay.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to get on the phone with you.
Yeah.
This was about 2 months ago that we talked about it. So other than that, there was really only the one significant deficiency.
Mhm.
I feel like I've got it under control. I have a commitment out of Greg to review those. And it's in the best interest of the town as well as for my own personal protection that it be reviewed, that you all know what's going on, because ultimately you have what
Yeah.
to say.
Makes sense.
Okay.
As far as the vacation policy figuring,
For budgeting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's been working for us for a long time.
right.
I'd break something that's won't need fixing.
Right, and I didn't think it was a significant portion of the budget, you know, it's not $100,000 that we're talking about, it's 10 or 20 at most. So it gave us some flexibility if things change, and there was a year or two in a row where you had to make some adjustments to salaries or wages. And that gave you that flexibility to do that without going over budget and keeping within the rate that you wanted to do. I just said I'd tell you about it, that's all.
Duly noted.
Anything else? Yep.
Okay.
So as I read through this audit report, and we have the summary here.
Hmm.
As I read through this, I should be looking at the text parts. I should assume that the numbers are correct, right? I mean, I don't need to review all those. do I?
I agree.
Right, I think that's a fair statement. I presented him with what I had. He gave me half a dozen adjustments to make, which is pretty good, much.
Mhm.
I made those based on our discussions, and those were incorporated.
Mhm. Okay. Great. So we would vote to approve this sometime in the future. Have a chance to read it, right?
I would say that would be the proper procedure.
So like at the next meeting or whenever. Okay. Great.
So we go on to the expensive part.
Mhm.
This is just a note to let her borrow money till taxes come in and she pays it back.
This was the new piece, right?
So usually we end up borrowing from our own funds. We pay the current interest rate. There's a lot of hassle.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to move forward with that.
Thank you.
14, I think. Okay.
Yeah, this is just right. I just read this morning, this afternoon, whatever.
You can have that one. I have one right here.
Should just.
So this is a motion to borrow $300,000 from ourselves.
Yeah.
So moved.
A second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
I
All right.
Have you had, I'm sorry, Brian, if you had a chance to
I'm
read through?
good.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
great.
thanks.
Is this about the same amount that we borrow each year?
It really does fluctuate. One year it was 250, I think last year it was 250, one year it was 180. But the last education payment is on the pay orders for this evening, and it pretty much wipes out our cash.
Gotcha.
So we need to borrow some money for the next few months. And it seems a little bit more than usual. Like 50,000.
Next one will be delinquent tax report. Don't mention names, just numbers if you have a question.
Shorter than the last one.
So these are delinquent taxes that were on the last report we got for this, for the most part.
There is one that had been lingering for quite some time that was a problematic child, and that did get paid.
So that's not on this list, right? Okay.
So these are just the current outstanding as of the first.
So what has our action been with these people?
Tax collector usually tries to work with them, set up a payment plan, and I can't tell you the exact time after they're delinquent for so long. The tax collector has the right to come for the board and ask to put it up for sale. And then from there, the lawyer gets involved and they just changed some of the rules and regulations, and I'm not up on that. It used to be quite simple, but per usual, states making it more complicated.
There you go.
Right, Kim?
You have to wait a year, they have to be now a full year in a delinquent. Where you can take them to tax sale,
So-
and there's more steps involved in the whole process.
So we have one delinquent tax here, 100127999, that's from 23.
Correct, and I think that in the transition from last winter, that had been requested to take to tax sale, but an issue, it hadn't been long enough when it was raised or something. So now it's for the new tax collector to say, to bring it to you and say, we need to pursue these through tax sale. Usually elicits a response of getting it paid off.
Gotcha. But the tax collector has not done that.
Correct,
Okay.
I'll defer to her.
And then,
She's only a couple months on the job.
I knew that. I just, yeah, okay.
on the back is the totals for each year. And then all together.
Yeah.
So can we vote to move to accept the delinquent tax report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll get to the
Said that about the taxes. too.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have this? I think I have to.
No, I don't have that.
I have one,
I see the thing.
3 weeks.
Oh, wait, here it is, sorry. Here's the page.
All right, we'll do the payroll one first. It's moved for $13,572.46.
Second.
Questions or? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh. This one's regular invoices. And we will move to approve $1,061,446.16.
Wow.
Almost of it's education.
State of Vermont. Oof. You get a thank you note for that?
Mm-mm. But you get a penalty if it's late.
Second.
Oh, Sue, yeah. Right. So can I just ask a question? How much is the reappraisal process, New England Municipal Consultants? So it's $3,000 this month, is it?
It's been as high as 10, because we had the person here last summer for certain months where he was actually here
Going
Monday through
around.
Thursday,
Yeah.
right, doing quite a lot of the legwork. So this was some of the follow-up, some of the field work.
Yeah.
And this was on the light side of the bills.
And do they participate in the hearings that the listers are holding?
Yes, I believe Ryan.
That would
came
be
back tonight.
That's what I thought,
Right.
yeah.
That's right.
Correct. Because what they're doing next week at the hearings is they're gathering information to take back to him so that he can adjust or whatever.
Yeah, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Informed today that there's like 659 properties to deal with.
In Weston?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow.
I mean, the exact number, but it's in the ballpark.
Yeah, right, wow. And they got to visit, they got 67%.
Yeah,
That's a lot, so.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked. We're an accommodating group of people.
Sorry?
Said I'm not shocked. We're an accommodating group of people.
We are a wonderful town. Okay.
You do.
Okay.
Old and new business. Anybody got stuff for old business? Anybody got stuff for new business? With that, we should see y'all on the 27th.
Great. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
It's 9:30 today. That's not too bad. This